All right, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the new Carina's challenges that take place in the Necropolis. As of December 10th, we have 5 of these available, and then of course the Deathless one is going to be available in January to complete this whole thing. But the rewards are quite good, even if you just do the first 5 sometime in the next month or so. You get a full tier 7 basic, a 2 to 3 gem, as well as an awakening gem, and of course the She-Hulk piece, tons of shards and sig stones along the way. Now, I am not giving you guys a full guide this time. I know in the past I've done like spreadsheets and everything, but what I am going to do is just kind of go challenge by challenge and tell you what I'm personally thinking. I'm not battle tested yet, but I have done some theory crafting based on my roster, and we're going to kind of just go down the line and I'll tell you what I think are champs that you may want to rank. Now, in terms of the rewards, there's one reward that I wish they had added, and it was some form of 1 to 2 gems, because I will tell you there are some champions on these lists that are like rank 1, and if I completed a challenge, got a 1 to 2 gem and was able to immediately take them up, it would definitely save a little bit of time. But that said, because I have some of the key champions rank 1, I am going to have to be a little patient until I gather the catalyst needed to do that. So I'm hoping, between Banquet and whatever else is going on in December, I can get the catalyst that I need to bring some champs to rank 2 and knock this out as soon as possible. So without further ado, let's get into each challenge and I'll tell you a little bit about what I am thinking. And first off, we have the All Mutant Challenge. So this begins on the Sauron path, and basically you have to do the whole path all the way through Psycho Man. As a reminder, this has the evade on medium node. So immediately the champ I was thinking of is Strife, because his mediums are psionic attacks and they cannot be evaded, which means he completely bypasses this node altogether. And also he will bypass all of the hit monkey evade as well. So for me personally, Strife is going to do a little bit of work, but I do of course also have rank 3 Onslaught. And Onslaught is, I think, in some ways a better champion if you can just keep those degens up and, then just throw the special ones when you have the Daunted and everything. He does absolutely insane damage. And, the heavies cannot be evaded and stuff like that. So you do have the chance to just eternally keep up those degens if you play well enough. So for me personally, it's going to be a combination of Onslaught and Strife. The other champions that do need a shout out though, of course, are Professor X. He does counter evade. He's really good for long form. He's just a little bit more difficult to play for the average player, and also not very available. He was one of the gifted guardians last year. And then finally, North Star, right? North Star can really do a lot in long form content. He currently has this ability to stun lock, which will go away in the patch next month. However, I talked to B McG and he confirmed that because the momentum cap is going to be lowered to 6 momentum, he is actually going to be better and easier to maintain and ramp in future years. So I do think that he is going to be really good. He does have a slow off of his special one, and he can ramp based on evade as well. So he is quite good for this evade lane. And I think honestly, if you do Onslaught and Strife or Onslaught and North Star, you'll be in really good shape. Maybe throw in Professor X. And the nice thing about mutants is that there are some nice synergies. So you can do stuff like bring in Apocalypse, kill him on Sauron, and then make somebody a horseman like Strife. You can definitely do that. If you revive him once, just like waste a single 20% revive. There's of course like House of X Magneto. There's just great teams that you can build. For me personally, I'm probably going like APOC, Onslaught, Strife, and then maybe like House of X and maybe Sinister. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Professor X as well, just for like a little synergy. But that's going to mostly be my team. America Chavez is one of the most annoying fights. However, it doesn't really require a specific counter. So I do think Onslaught's going to be fine there. When it comes to Airwalker, again, I think I'm just going to go with Onslaught because the play style of Onslaught is a lot of heavy attacks anyway. And that's what you have to do for him to keep knocking him down. And then these final 3 fights really aren't that bad. You do need to watch out that Wiccan is able to you regen off of energy damage, which Onslaught has a lot of. So you need to be careful with that. Make sure either Despair is kicking in, or use Strife and figure out another way around it. But yeah, so Wiccan could be a little bit of an annoying fight in my opinion. But with Betsy, it's just getting used to the reverse controls. And then with Psycho Man, it's just like following his prompts, and you do have class disadvantage. So that's the first challenge. Next, we're going to talk about Worthy Gods. So this is Cullsworthy and the God tag. And for this team, I think for me personally, Enchantress is going to be doing a lot. This is the Titania path. And there's a few things to consider here. First of all, you have access to Absorbing Man. And I don't want to say he's 100% necessary, but I do actually think he is absolutely necessary. The good thing is he's a 6-star, so hopefully a lot of people have him. A lot of people have him ascended. But specifically the Arcus and the Airwalker, I think of all the champs available, maybe Enchantress can do those fights, but I would much prefer using Absorbing Man for those. A lot of people used him for those fights in the actual clearing of the Necropolis. And just remember, Necropolis was made before rank 3s were readily available. So people doing it used a lot of 7-stars and 6-star champions as well that were only rank 2 or ascended or rank 5 champions. So just note that it's scaled to work that way. That's why using Absorbing Man is going to be great here. But in terms of the clearing champions, Odin, quite good for long-form content if you know how to use him. Serpent, also really good for long-form content. He ramps up as it goes. Atuma, also quite good. I'm going to try to use Atuma for Titania, actually. I think he's going to actually be pretty good for her once he gets cooking, is quite good. Titania herself is okay. Juggernaut, I don't really love Juggernaut for this, but he is reverse controls immune for Betsy if you really wanted to do that. But again, I think for me, I'm going to try to force Enchantress in here and do the best that she can. She has Neutralize, which can potentially help for the Omega Sentinel fight. And then Absorbing Man is for sure going to put in work against Arcus and Airwalker. And then for the rest of my team, I'm probably going to have to rank up Odin, and I'm probably going to have to bring my rank to Atuma as well. And I do see some people using Hulk, and Hulk can just do a lot of damage without thinking. So I don't think having him on the team is a bad idea. But that's kind of what I'm thinking for this one. Again, kind of Enchantress and Cull doing a lot of the work with a little bit of Atuma and Absorbing Man for the specific fights. And then I'll just have to think about who I want to bring for the end. You could, of course, bring Heimdall, which will help you cheat death if you need it. I don't think Hercules is a good choice. I don't really think Hela is a good choice. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for that one. And again, this is the Titania path. Okay, so the next one is called the Chosen Challengers. These are the old Carina's Challengers. And honestly, if I had to say one champion was essential here, it's Guillotine 2099. She, for me personally, was extremely valuable for this path in the first place. Really one of the only good counters for Silver Centurion, one of the only good counters for this Jubilee, and she absolutely can do Diablo and I-Bomb as well. In fact, a lot of people, including B McG, who has a video on these fights, used her just straight through for almost this entire path. She's great for Sunspot as well. And then if you do consider using OG Guillotine for the heal reversal, that is a possibility for the Diablo as well, or you could just use Guillotine 2099. You can, of course, use Void for Diablo as well. That should work. And then some of the other champions on this list that might work, there's not too many, unfortunately. This is not a great list, in my opinion, of champions that are usable. But I do think Crossbones is an option for maybe the Spidey 2099. And then when it comes to the... when it comes to the Squirrel Girl for that one. I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm just going to end up using Guillotine 2099 for that as well. She goes unstoppable. You need to be able to knock her down at times. And then, you know, the node that you have here is that whenever the defender is struck with a critical hit, then you get the stifle passives, right? So this means that not critting is going to help you a little bit, which is why Guillotine 2099 is so good for this path. And then, you know, as I mentioned, Silver Centurion can be a roadblock for some people, but she's able to essentially solo him if you just hold your block and spam your special ones, and you have her power control mode. She's quite good for that. So again, for me, Guillotine 2099 is going to be the workhorse. I think Crossbones might do a little bit for me. Other than that, you can consider using Void. You can consider using OG Guillotine. Maybe She-Hulk does something, but other than that, I'm not seeing a lot of these champions being too valuable, and that's going to be that path. Next up is the Dimensional Beings one, which is probably going to be the hardest one. So thanks, MSD. We love you, man. But yeah, looking at this, I actually have my team set up here. I was doing a little testing, and you know, there are some really good champions here. I'll say I do think that Future Ant-Man is needed for, once again, for that Silver Centurion. Like, I cannot think of somebody else who can take this Silver Centurion, who's just going to be like, once he's ramped up, it's really ugly with him just spamming specials and everything. So you need the power control. And Future Ant-Man, fortunately, is a 6-star. Hopefully you have him. He is absolutely worth ascending and using for just that fight. But, you know, you do have to deal with the reverse controls on this entire path, which is a little bit of a pain. And but the good thing is you have access to champs like Kushala, who's fantastic. You have America Chavez, who's fantastic. And then I put Ghost Rider and Spot on the team just because they were the most highest ranked champs. But they're just going to be like, if I team revive, I might use them a little bit. I do not see them being very useful for this challenge. But yeah, the Odin isn't too bad. And I do have a video on how to use America Chavez for him, so that he's not too bad. But Claire and Shang-Chi with the reverse controls node and the way you have to play them, you don't need a specific counter, but they basically turn their own abilities backwards on you, and you have to be like completing wushu strikes against Shang-Chi and readying them and unreadying them at any moment to play the mini game on the node. And then with Claire, she goes unblockable. She has death touch. You have to like really keep an eye on the thermostat there and make sure that she doesn't get too far in either direction, because she can just one-shot you. So she's probably going to just be an America Chavez fight for me, so I can somewhat control her little burst of power when she's nullifying the placebo buffs. But yeah, really good champs that I have ranked is good for this challenge, but this one's going to be really difficult for sure. And yeah, planning to use a bunch of items for that. And then finally, the new challengers, the 10-year challenge. This is going to be kind of fun. It's going to be a very Wong-centric run, but you do need to do the entire Necropolis. I'm probably just going to do the Titania to Apocalypse path. I think that's the best way to go if you're using mostly Wong, because Wong can benefit from those indestructible buffs and all that stuff that you get off of the necrotic node on the second half there. But yeah, so Wong's going to do most of the work, but Chioth is also there. She will be my option for at least Titania, probably Captain America Infinity War, and some other champions. Chioth is very, very good in long-form content, especially once those bleeds get going. But then for the other champions, you do need a Cosmic, in my opinion. You need either Adam Warlock or Vox or potentially Null or Gore to do the Omega Sentinel. They all work for her. I think Adam Warlock might be the easiest to use for her. But yeah, aside from that, you need to definitely cover him. And if you're going to go to Guardian, then you're going to need to cover somebody as well with a Cosmic. But if you're not using Guardian, if you're going to the APOC path, then, you know, it's going to be Wong pretty much all the way through this thing. You can bring one of the Science champions for Dragon Man. Like, I could see Quicksilver or Photon being good for the Dragon Man if you want to do that, but I don't think you necessarily need him. Wong can basically solo this entire path if you want it to go that way. But my team is probably going to be Wong and then Wiccan for the Grandmaster for the reverse controls thing. I think that's going to be very valuable. And then probably for the rest of the team, it's going to be either Null or Vox, and then Chielth. And then I might bring a Science Champion. I might bring Hulkbuster. Hulkbuster doesn't do great here, but Hulkbuster does have some really good fights on the other side. If you decided to go on maybe a harder path, I know that Hulkbuster can do some crazy stuff over there. So anyway, that kind of summarizes the challenges. The last one is obviously the death list. So you are bringing that full team. It's not available till January. And if you read Deathless Thanos' abilities, you will see that there are many synergies that will make this a lot better. Like King Groot is going to be able to ramp better. Guillotine has a neutralize, which can come in handy at times. Basically, all these champions are going to hit harder. They're going to have more charges on the enraged timer, and they are going to have synergies to help you take care of a lot of the map. So I will probably, because there's just so much annoying stuff on this side of the map here, you know, like the future Ant-Man and the Gallon and the Spidey Supreme, and like Sandman can be a roadblock for some people. So I'll probably stick to one of these paths over here, and for me likely it's just going to be Titania to Guardian. I just think I have the most experience with that path, and I had the fewest items used on it, so you know, I'll have to scout that one a little later. I'm not going to talk about that one too much because we're still a month out, but anyway, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to slowly be knocking this out this month. Just wanted to give you a quick take on the champions that I'm going to be ranking up for it, and hopefully this was helpful. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.